motivational speaker and a consultant. Dr. Ramella's motto in life is, think big, dream big, and don't settle for less. He also wants me to inform you that he has 2 children, Lenover and Elvin, of whom he is very proud. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Raghavalu Ramella.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I always used to hear this saying, why you need to repair if something is working for you? Why you need to mend when something is working for you? Why you have to intervene when something is working for you? So also, if you see Trinidad and Tobago, if you see the last 2-3 years after economic crisis, financial crisis, 2008, if you see the GDP, it is at the most 1% or little over 1%. Last year, it is contracted by 3%, in fact decreased by 3%, now it is at 0%. So therefore, it is understood there should be something that we should do, and that is nothing but, in order to boost the economy, to increase the growth and the development, the policy makers, the officials, the government officials have to do something. And that something is nothing but the solution to increase the GDP and to increase the growth and development is FDI, foreign direct investment. So I'm going to speak on the strategic role of foreign direct investment for the growth and the development of the economy with reference to Trinidad and Tobago in economic growth and development. Now, in this presentation, for the sake of this presentation, again let's go back for the meaning and the definition of FDI. Structure of balance of payments, forms, patterns, sources of FDI, acquisition versus greenfield investments, theoretical approaches to FDI, benefits and cost of FDI to host country and home country. Then we're going to see government's influence on FDI, international institutions' influence on FDI, the government medium-term policy framework as a strategic intervention for FDI, and especially in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Public Sector Investment Program 2012 by Planning Commission and Economy. And then we have what we're going to see the role of FDI on Trinidad and Tobago economy. Now for the sake of, as I told you, for this presentation, let's see what do you mean by FDI. The foreign direct investment occurs when a firm directly invests in the new facilities to produce or market in a foreign country. Now what is these facilities? It might be skills, it might be management ideas, or it might be transfer of technology or other factors of production. Now when a firm invests in a foreign country, we also call it as multinational enterprise or multinational company. Now I want you to observe this definition, which is very, very important, and throughout my presentation I'll be focusing based on this definition. This definition is according to International Balance of Payment, International Monetary Fund. It says the 5th edition of the International Monetary Fund's Balance of Payment Manual, BPM5, defines FDI as a category of international investment that reflects the objective of a resident in one economy, that is the direct investor, obtaining a large lasting interest in an enterprise in another country, the direct investment enterprise. Now here, when we are talking about lasting interest, the lasting interest implies the existence of long-term relationship between the direct investor and the direct investment enterprise. Now this relationship, the direct or what you call relationship in terms of investment, if you see the relationship should establish when the direct investor has acquired 10% or more in ordinary shares or what you call common shares or the voting power of the enterprise abroad. So any company, foreign company, which invests 10% or more in foreign country, in the host country, that's said to be what you call multinational company or a company invest in FDI, foreign direct investment. To qualify for a company to be called as, it should invest 10 or more percent in common shares, or we call it as common shares or ordinary shares. Now I want you to examine or see the balance of payments account because FDI can be illustrated or can be explained through what you call balance of payments. Now if you see balance of payments, it has two accounts. Okay, one we call it as current account, the other one is capital account. The current account, again, it has various subsections. It consists of merchandise, that we call it as goods and services. It also contains what you call service account. It also contains income, and also it contains what you call transfers. Now in capital account, we have what you call, this capital account records long-term transactions of the country. For example, this account consists of borrowings, okay, from the company, borrowings of the country through official means through central bank or from state level enterprises, or it might be from public sector. So when you involve in borrowing of funds or what you call investing in terms of equities, okay, equity investment or debt investment, okay, it will be three levels. At the official level, and you can borrow, okay, through what you call central bank or state level or what you call public sector or private sector enterprises. And there will be also an account called errors and omissions. Now why errors and omissions? Because this balance of payment account is based on double entry system. What do you mean by double entry system? As you know, because your debit should always equal to credit. So therefore, this account has to be balanced. But sometimes at a global level, sometimes there might be errors or omissions. So to bring it even, to balance it, whatever the difference figure, okay, they write it as what you call errors and omissions. And also, here in this account, you can also see the gross, okay, official reserve. That means official net reserve. After paying, okay, whatever the receipts that are made in abroad, whatever the payments that are made in abroad, the net effect, okay, the surplus or the reserve, we call it as official reserve. And also, okay, if the country is engaged in imports, okay, that is also will be given, that information also will be given in balance of payment account. Now, this balance of payment account, if you see, as I told you, it has two accounts, debit and credit. So, we also call it as, okay, inflows and outflows. When we say inflows, this is the receipts that are earned, okay, by the company, by the country, okay, through direct foreign investment. And payments are made by the host country, or what you call the country when we invest, okay, our firm invest in abroad and make payments, okay, we call it as payment or outflow. So therefore, there are two accounts, okay, inflow and outflow. Now, we'll also, I also want to analyze this one, okay, a little further and say that sometimes the, what you call the merchandise, the service, goods and services, that is also called to determine trade balance. Trade balance means you want to know, okay, how much amount you engaged in exports and how much amount you have, okay, put in your imports. Now, sometimes, okay, so you have to compare whether your exports are more than your imports. If your exports are more than your imports, then there is what you call net, okay, surplus in your, okay, balance of what you call trade. If your imports are more than your exports, then there will be deficit. Now, whether it is surplus or deficit can be adjusted again with your what you call capital account. Sometimes capital account, whatever is paid and whatever is received in terms of capital receipts may not be balanced. Why? Because whatever the difference can be adjusted in what you call a trading account or what you call merchandise or what you call service account. So therefore, when there is a deficit, when the payments related to your capital receipts are more, then we call it as deficit. When your capital receipts are more, than the payments, then we call it as surplus. And before we go, so therefore the net effect, when we say balance of payments, that means your total receipt should equal to total payments. Now there is also deficit balance of payment and surplus balance of payment. Now when I say deficit, is that when your receipts are less than your payments, then we call it as deficit in balance of payment, and surplus means when your total receipts are more than the total payments. Now let us proceed further and see. If you see, there are different forms of FDI, foreign direct investment. One we call it as greenfield investments. The other one is in the form of acquisitions and mergers. Now what do you mean by greenfield investment? When we say greenfield investment, the establishment of wholly new operation in a foreign country. In other words, the firm, the resident of one country come into the host country and establish altogether from the scratch. It provides its own capital, it provides its own labor, it provides its own management, management ideas, it transfers its own technology. It starts from fresh. That we call it as greenfield investments. And we also have what we call through acquisitions and mergers. That means just the foreign firm has to acquire. The country firm that is already established. They just try to buy the assets and the liabilities of that company, or simply merge. Merge means the liabilities of the foreign company with the liabilities and assets of the existing company in the host country. They come together and they merge. That kind of form. We have two forms: acquisition and mergers. Now we're going to see what are the benefits of going for greenfield investments and also through acquisition and mergers. Now, as I told you, I already explained the flow of FDI. There is inflow and there are two flows: inflows and outflows. Inflows means the receipts. It represents the receipts. That is when your exports are more than your imports and then your capital receipts are more than your capital payments. Then we have what you call those are the inflows that is coming inside the country. Outflow is through the payment, through your imports or through the payment of capital payment receipts abroad. That is called outflow. And we also should know the terminology called stock of FDI. The total accumulated value of foreign-owned assets in the form of most probably the stores, the locations, various physical buildings that are established in the host country, that can be termed as foreign-owned assets at a given time. Now, if you see both the flow and the stock of FDI have increased over last 30 years. In other words, I also want to remind you that I'm going to first focus on the emerging trends that are taking place, emerging trends of FDI in the global market, in the global economy. Now if you see both the flow and the stock of FDI have increased over 30 years. Now most FDI is still targeted towards developed nation. Now why developed nation? Why FDI want to target in developed nation? Because in developed nation, what happens is that they always look for what? Advance in technology. Isn't it so? Because these foreign companies, they want to take the technological know-how, or what you call those countries which are involved in latest technology, they want to invest, because naturally the main intention is they want to flourish and make profits for themselves. Not only that, we will see what are the costs and benefits later on, but mostly they prefer what you call developing countries or developed countries. Now especially if you see, most of the FDI takes place in countries like United States, Japan, then European Union. If you see, there are other destinations that are emerging, like South, East and Southeast Asia, especially China and Latin America. Now, I think Dr. Amin has pointed out in his presentation about China. Because why people are looking for China? Because number one is, you know that in terms of population, it's the highest, isn't it? So most of the FDI firms, because the population that contains in China is the magnet for FDI to invest in the countries. And also, China is not easy initially because they didn't have what you call opening for FDI, for the firms to invest FDI into their country, because of communism. Communism means they only want their firms to be established because they don't want other firms to come into their country. So therefore, there are a lot of restrictions. There are a lot of what you call challenges for the foreign firms to get started through what you call FDI. But later on, even China also learned through what you call through seeing other advanced countries like USA, Germany, France, UK, where they almost, if you see their GDP, ranges from 10% to 16 or even 30%. So it has learned from the other advanced countries, and slowly it has opened doors for the foreign investors to come and invest in their country. Now it is said in 2000, actually the doors are open for foreign firms in 1970. But today, 2008, if you see, the overall, the foreign direct investment amounts to around $60 billion in China itself. You can imagine the importance of FDI that plays in the economy of China. But today, after 2008, because of this financial meltdown, because of financial crisis, what happened is that the investment rates, the investment is not suiting for foreign direct investors to come and invest in the country, and because of they cannot even export their products because of trade barriers. So what the government at the present, the China's economy or the policy makers or the government is doing is that they're finding out ways and means where they can provide incentives to attract would-be investors in their country. Now let us proceed. And also very interesting to note, Latin America also emerging as one of the players in attracting FDI. So Trinidad and Tobago being near to this kind of markets, it can take advantage. Even the outflow of FDI can take place in this Latin America, various states in that country. Trinidad and Tobago can take advantage of that. Why? Because this is one of the emerging trends that are taking place in and when it comes FDI in Latin America. Now let me show you graph here. It is the total representation. It starts from 1992 to 2010. If you see the trend, if you see the trend of FDI, it is started very little. In fact, around it is in billions. If you see y-axis, it represents the receipts or money in US dollars in billions, and on x-axis time period is indicated. And if you see the years, initially the FDI is not much attracted by the countries. Why? Because basically it doesn't gain momentum. And also, if you see a little bit economics, you'll know 7, 8, 9 decades ago, it is based on sales law of market. That means the demand is more, whereas the production is less. So therefore, in the country, home country itself, sales law of market says every supply creates its own demand. That means the classical belief that there are enough of what you call demand, but there is not sufficient supply. So therefore, the home country itself are able to what you call manufacture, and there is less scope for the foreign direct investment companies to come and establish. In fact, so that is one aspect. Initial stages, you see, there is not much increase in foreign direct investment. But over years, if you see, especially in 2000, if you see, it is almost near 14 billion dollar was the total. The whole what you call FDI around 14,000 billion, and in 2000, especially 7, you can see it almost reached over 2,000 billion dollars. Now after that, the trend slowly now reducing. Why? Why the trend is falling? I mean, the increase, instead of increasing, it started decreasing. Can somebody tell me why? Why? Because 2008 is what? The year of what? Financial crisis. That's where the financial crisis have taken place, the meltdown of the economy. So you can see, because of that, basically slowly the FDI started decreasing after 2008, and till today many countries are afraid in fact to attract what you call foreign direct investment in their country, because even basically there will be adverse effects on the benefits that there will be cost, more than cost, than the benefits they're going to reap if they allow, because they are not coming forward to take what you call a strategic intervention because of the fear of financial crisis that have taken, even crippled the whole world. And interesting study also shown that if you see the FDI, in developing countries, which is actually indicated by green color, and developed nations, which countries, most amount of FDI is invested, developed countries or developing countries? Through this graph, you can clearly understand that basically, if you see in developing countries, the FDI is less in terms of dollar value than in terms of developing nations. As I told you, most of the firms always look for developed countries, because that's where they also grow and also earn a lot of earnings for the country. Now let's also see the growth in FDI. The growth of FDI is the result of these are the reasons. One is the fear of protectionism. That means they don't want to be closed. Basically, they want to expose themselves. They want to have a liberalization, so that it also can become a global player. Then one other reason is political and economic changes. And the other reason is reason for the growth of FDI will be new liberal investment treaties, and also the globalization of the world economy. Today, most of the countries are open economy. Open means what? It is a free market enterprise. Any company can come and establish its business. So therefore, most of the countries recognize that they cannot depend upon their own resources. So therefore, it has opened itself to foreign developed investment by becoming a global player. Now, if you see, since World War II, the US has been the largest source country for FDI, followed by United Nations, Netherlands, France, Germany, Japan, and all other important source countries. Now, all these three, what are the listed the countries that I have mentioned? If you see together, these countries account for how much? 60% of all FDI outflows from 1998 to 2010. So most of the portion of FDI is invested by these countries. Now, graphically, we can also see United Nations, or United States tops the FDI in terms of amount. It's almost nearly $22,300 billion, followed by United Kingdoms, and then Netherlands, Germany, Japan, and France. All these are the advanced countries, but they attract FDI. And if you see their economy also, in terms of balance of payment, in terms of foreign exchange earnings, in terms of employment, in terms of what you call technological transfer, are much higher than the other developing countries and developed countries. Let's see the acquisition versus greenfield investments. Why? Most of the FDI prefer what you call acquisitions than the greenfield investments. If you see, most cross-border investment is in the form of mergers and acquisitions rather than greenfield investments. Can somebody tell me why is the reason? Why most of the companies, foreign companies, prefer acquisitions and mergers rather than greenfield investments? The reasons can be I'll point it out later. If you see, between 40 to 80% of all FDI flows per annum from 1998 to 2009 were in the form of what? Mergers and acquisitions. That means most of the FDI is taking place in the form of mergers and acquisitions. But in developing countries, 2/3 of FDI is greenfield investment. Now why? Because only few industries or what you call countries are targeted when it comes what you call greenfield investments. Now the main reason is, as I told you, greenfield investment means what? It is starting from the what you call from the scratch or from the beginning. The overall you have to put all your all the resources has to be put by the what you call foreign firm in order to start its operation. And also, if you see developing countries, they don't have what you call infrastructure, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of technology, in terms of foreign exchange and factors of production, they are not so good. So therefore, most of the FDI prefer for developing countries, they prefer for greenfield investments rather than acquisitions and mergers. And one of the reasons I think even Mr. Kasala Kamara has pointed out, because basically I agree with, because the foreign direct investment, they also bring absolute what you call technology into the country. But my little bit study, I respect what Mr. Kasala Kamara has said, but with my understanding, with my little bit study, it is pointed out, the firms which comes with the latest, what you call technological transfer, those developing countries not compatible. That means they cannot take that much advanced technology. So they have to initially bring down to the technology or infrastructure facilities that are there in that country. So therefore, sometimes it happens because the other countries like USA and developed countries are much advanced in technology. So they cannot bring the whole, the advanced or latest technology and use it in Trinidad and Tobago, because it may not be compatible and it may not fit in to take that kind of advanced technology. Eventually, with the, eventually it can reach to, what you call advanced in technology. So that is one of the reasons, why most of the countries, they come with less in technology rather than latest or what you call advanced in technology. And it is also, if you see, mergers and acquisitions are quicker to execute than greenfield investments. It is easier and perhaps less risky for a firm to acquire what you call desired assets than build them from the ground up. Then firms believe that they can increase what? The efficiency of an acquired unit by transferring capital, technology, or management skills. So therefore, that's the reason most of the firms, they prefer acquisitions and mergers rather than greenfield investments. Now let us see some of the benefits, because now we've been talking about foreign direct investment. Why we need foreign direct investment? Because you should understand, there are what you call there are benefits and costs. But before that, okay, let me quickly just review some of the theoretical approaches to FDI. I'm not going to go into all the theory aspect, but I'll give you the summary. According to radical view, okay, especially Karl Marx ism, okay, they prefer domestic investment. They don't want the foreign companies to come and establish their businesses in the host country or in the country, okay, domestic country. So why? Because they believe more than the benefits, okay, they reap, okay, they'll be at loss, okay, they'll incur cost. And they also believe that these companies comes with the latest technology, with the latest, okay, in terms of factors of production, and the home country may not, okay, able to withstand that kind of competition. Okay, so therefore, the major portion of cash, okay, what you call flows, okay, inflows, okay, of the country will be less than the outflow of the country. Why? Because most of the money profits will be transferred back, okay, to the home country. So they say that it's better, and especially they are also afraid of infant industries which just started. Most probably they may not be competitive with the global, okay, market. So that's the reason they always believe that it's better, okay, to have a closed economy, okay, closed capitalistic, okay, view, imperialistic view, rather than opening, okay, doors for the other foreign companies, simply because, okay, they feel that the cost, okay, of sacrificing is more than the benefits that they reap of okay, FDI. The other one is, okay, free market view, and especially the free market view is actually advocated by Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and others. The classical economists, okay, they always prefer to have a free, market. That means free market means what? Open market. So, and he also says that it is true that, when a firm establish, okay, or when a firm invests in direct, foreign direct investment in a country, okay, it brings in, they say that it brings in, okay, management, skills, they bring in capital, they provide employment, it also increases foreign reserves. But he also says that, they further say, okay, there is what you call comparative cost advantage. Now what do you mean by comparative cost advantage? Now this comparative cost advantage is mutually benefit for the host country as well as the home country. Now how it is benefited? He says that comparative cost advantage is that, let's say for example Dell is there. Now Dell, okay, if you see their pieces are customized. Whatever the features you want, you can just put it and build it yourself. Isn't it so? Now why? Because they have what you call, okay, they followed, okay, the free market view is that, okay, they establish their own, okay, different operations in different countries. Usually the head office is in US, but they also have, okay, various operations in different countries. For example, okay, Mexico. The Mexico, okay, especially for assembling parts, is much cheaper than the parts they acquire in US. So what the Dell prefer is that they manufacture those parts that are required for assembling, rather than, okay, bringing, okay, from the home country, okay, from US, okay, importing, or from the home country to the host country. It will be more costly for them than to produce it in the host country. In that way, okay, the benefit is that, okay, since they are producing in the home country, because the raw materials are cheap, the manufacturing of the products are cheap, so when producing is cheaper, the cost of production, naturally the cost of, okay, the selling price of those products also will be less. So mutually, the home country, okay, customers will benefit, as well as the host country customers also will benefit. And also, not only that, it is also, okay, it also brings in, as I told you, the foreign exchange, employment, okay, technological skills. So therefore, Adam Smith said that it is always good for a country to have an open economy rather than a closed economy because of comparative cost advantage. The next one we have is what you call pragmatic, okay, relation, nationalism. In other words, here they not only believe in benefits, but they also say that there is also cost. Okay, what you call the benefits as well as costs that are involved. It is not that when a foreign direct investment come into the country, they only what you call get the host country gets benefits. But no, there is also costs that are associated. So let us see what are some of the benefits and costs quickly. Okay, one is the benefits are resource transfer effect. Okay, that means FDI brings capital, technology, management resources, and then employment effect. That is FDI can bring jobs, and then balance of payment effects. FDI can help a country to achieve a current account surplus. And also, lastly, effects on competition and economic growth. That means what? Greenfield investments increase the level of competition in a market, driving down prices and improving the welfare of the customers. Now, there is also, apart from the benefits, they also say that there is a cost that is involved. What are the costs? One is, the inward FDI has three main costs. One is adverse effects of FDI on competition within the host nation. That means what? The subsidiaries of foreign multinational enterprise may have greater economic power than indigenous competitors, because they may be part of a larger international organization. And also it has adverse effect on balance of payments. How? When a foreign subsidiary imports a substantial number of its inputs from abroad, there is a debit on the current account of the host country's balance of payment. I told you, balance of payment includes exports and imports. So when you import, what will happen? It will be having, you have to debit. So therefore, it has an adverse effect on the balance of payment. And lastly, perceived loss of national sovereignty and also autonomy. Decisions that affect the host country will be made by the foreign parent that has no real commitment to the host country, and or which the host country's government has no real control. So therefore, because of these are the costs that are involved. Now, how you can decide whether you should allow FDI to come into the country? So you have to have what you call cost versus benefit. If your benefits are more than the cost, then you attract what you call FDI. But if your cost is more than the benefits, it's better, go with your domestic, what you call investment or production. Now we also see some of the benefits of, to home country, the country which actually receiving country. What is the benefits to FDI, for the home country? Includes the effect of capital account of the home country's balance of payment from inward flow of foreign earnings, the employment effect that arises from outward FDI, the gains from learning valuable skills from foreign markets that can subsequently be transferred back to the home country. So these are the benefits, and there is also costs that are involved. The cost of FDI to home country will be the home country's balance of payments can be suffered from initial capital outflow required to finance the FDI. If the purpose of FDI is to serve the home market from a low cost labor location, if the FDI is a substitute for direct investment, and also the employment also will be negatively affected if the FDI is a substitute for domestic production. And also, the international trade theory suggests that home country concerns about negative economic effects of offshore production, that is FDI undertake to serve the home country may not be valued. So I want to provide explanation, but out of we are running out of time, but nevertheless this is self-explanatory. You can understand it because of these costs that are involved. Sometimes the countries are indifferent; they are not able to open for FDI. But as I told you, the best way to attract or not to attract FDI depends upon whether the benefits are more than the cost. You have to do that analysis. Now, somebody said, how a government can play an important role. It can also play an important role in attracting FDI it also can play an important role in restricting FDI. Now we can see some of the ways. The government can encourage outward FDI. In what way? Government-backed insurance programs to cover major types of foreign investment risk. Government can restrict outward FDI. In what way? Limiting capital outflows, manipulate tax rules, and outright prohibition of FDI. Okay. Now let us see some of what you call the strategic intervention. If you see, Mr. Kasala has already pointed out the FDI contribution is around 3% in terms of goods and services, and 57% or 56% in terms of services, isn't it? If I heard you correctly. Yeah.
Services sector
is 56%. Yes. Okay. So that is quite good. But if you see the overall, the studies have shown the overall, the GDP increase in inflows is around 3%. Okay. If you see the studies that shown, so therefore there should be a strategic intervention, and that strategic intervention is provided by government of Trinidad and Tobago by actually laying down 5 national priorities. For example, crime and law and order, agriculture and food production security, healthcare services and hospitals, economic growth and job creation, poverty reduction and capital development. Now in this, all these 5 priorities, national priorities, has divided into 7 pillars that are developed for the development, growth and development for public sector investments. Just quickly let me go through and then we are good to go. If you have any questions you can ask. These are 7 pillars of development, that is people-centered development, poverty eradication and social justice, national and personal security, information and communication technologies, a more diversified, knowledge-intensive, economy, good governance and foreign policy. One of the 7 pillars of that are laid on by PSIP. Now these are some of the strategic intervention where they can increase FDI. And lastly, I want to just draw the conclusion. Basically these are observations that are made. In conclusion, what I can say is that based on various research studies and according to International Monetary Fund, the following 3 observations are made about the current state of global economy. What are the 3 observations? The first one is the global economy expanded at a rate of about 3.5% in the first half of 2011 compared to 5.5% of a year earlier, that means in 2010. That means there is a reduction of how much? Around 2%. The acceleration was much stronger than anyone anticipated. And secondly, policy makers are still grappling with the issues that are needed to put the 2008 crisis behind us. The rebalancing of domestic demand from the public to the private sector and of global demand from the external deficit to the external surplus countries. And lastly, policymakers need to act quickly to prevent further deterioration in the outlook of the global economy in terms of investment. So therefore, if the above issues are taken into consideration by right measures and controls and by the policymakers and other stakeholders, FDI can contribute much more to the growth and the development of the economy. Thank you.
I'm going to briefly summarize Dr. Ramella's expose on the strategic role of FDI in the development of Trinidad and Tobago. He first started out by actually defining foreign direct investment in many different forms. And he went on to actually talk about the forms in which it would take, either mergers and acquisitions or greenfield, where you start up from the ground as opposed to buying a company or taking over a company. He went on to say that usually in developing countries, it's going to be more greenfield, and in developed countries, it's going to be more mergers and acquisitions. Of course, everything is there in place already. He went on to talk about the emerging trends in FDI, where it was targeted to developed nations. There's an article in the United Nations report where the 14 top recipients of foreign direct investment, out of those 14, 7 are actually emerging and developing countries. FDI is focused on developing countries in terms of quantity, how much goes to the US or Canada or England, those northern European countries. But there are a lot of developing and emerging markets in that mix. FDI has increased over the globalization period that we have been witnessing for the past 20, 30 years. We have seen an increase in FDI due to, of course, changes in countries' policies in relation to trades and tariff and stuff like that. Capital markets flows in and out. Those things are more or less liberalized, so it makes easy access for funds and factors of production to flow to and fro. There has been some fear in the growth of FDI based on protectionism. He mentioned that, and what countries do is you get into bilateral arrangements to more or less alleviate those fears. He spoke about the benefits of FDI, the theoretical approaches to FDI, and he mentioned a lot about costs and benefits. So I will talk about that, summarize it. Some of the benefits were balance of payments, surpluses, technical transfer, employment creation, which of course leads to increases in productivity. And some of the costs, of course, were same balance of payments if your import bill happens to be really high. Some FDIs are going to be in a position where they have to import the factors of production because it's not available in the host country. So that can create a situation where the import bill is high. He says it affects employment in a negative way if the FDI acts as a substitute for domestic companies. So if an FDI comes into your company and takes over and takes over a local company, the responsibilities of a local company, that's going to have an effect on employment. Even though the FDI can actually act as a catalyst for employment in that said situation. But that's a valid argument. The theoretical approaches, he spoke about the Marxist view, the free market view, and the pragmatist view. Of course, the Marxist view is based on FDI more or less crowding out domestic investment. So FDI comes in and they actually access the capital, it crowds out domestic investment, so that's no good for the economy, for the local industry, local entrepreneurs. He also spoke about profits being repatriated. The free market view is that competition is good, it reduces costs, it makes everyone competitive. And of course, the pragmatist view is yes, there are costs and benefits. So what we do is we examine the costs, we examine the benefits. And of course, if costs are more than benefits, we say no. Vice versa, we say yes. So the strategic role, as far as FDI is concerned, to the growing economic development of Trinidad and Tobago. The problem we have is that foreign direct investment is primarily targeted to the energy sector, but the energy sector employs 3% of the population. Our 2011 estimates for employment in Trinidad and Tobago, our workforce is 630-something thousand people. Can you imagine out of that's over 0.6 million. Out of 0.6 million people, for the energy sector is going to employ 3%. So what's going to happen to the rest? So the government understands this situation. So what it's trying to do is develop the non-energy sector where more people can be employed. Also resources can spread. Because as you know, we exist in a dual economy. We have the energy sector that makes all the money, right? They make all the profit and they get all the high wages. And we have this non-energy sector that is underdeveloped. That's because that's the dualism they are talking about. So what the government is trying to do is develop that non-energy sector. And one of the keys is foreign direct investment. It was in the 2020 plan, it still is it's pillar 3 of the 2020 plan. It's still there. So the strategic role of FDI as far as the local industry is concerned, the local economy, is to use FDI as a catalyst to develop the non-energy sector. And of course they have plans in which they will do that, as Dr. Ramella was actually alluding to. I think I have some listed here, if I can find them. Just give me 1 second. Yeah. So the government's aim is to stimulate growth, generate prosperity throughout the economy, not just in one sector, not just in the energy sector, and also to return to balance of payment balances. We do have a balance of payment surplus as far as the energy sector is concerned, but in the non-energy sector we have imbalances. We actually import more than we export. We do have a balance of payment with our CARICOM neighbors. In the trade balance, we export to them more than they import from us. All right, but we need to address those issues. So the government has certain policies they are laying down there to see how they can address the issue of stimulating growth, generating prosperity throughout the economy. They're going to reform government expenditure by creating value for government expenditure, build competitive economy through focused investment and target reform agenda. They're going to look at things like unemployment, like inflation. We try to keep those things in a manageable, but continue to keep them at manageable levels so that we can attract foreign direct investment. The argument, we spoke about cost-benefit analysis and whether we want to accept them or not. But I think it goes a little beyond that. We first need to attract them. All right, so there are policies we need to lay down to attract them. We want them here, right? They're going to assist us in our development. So when they come here, then we look at cost benefit. But that's going to be included into the analysis. But we need to attract them, and we need to lay policies down that we can attract them. A good way to start is to look at those 14 countries I told you about. I'm going to end here. Those 14 countries that are the major recipients of FDI. What we do, we take a look at them and we see what they did to attract foreign direct investment. I'm going to tell you, it's listed in terms of priority from 1 to 13. Number 13 is incentives. Incentives. So all those tax breaks we talk about, that's the least concern there. Out of the first 5, 4 are related to market issues. Size of market, growth of market, stuff like that. Market issues. So to address these market issues, we start with policy. Lay the right groundwork to address these issues. Thank you very much.